A long time ago in Kyoto in Japan, there was a band of samurai knights. They were renowned for their great might and power. Kyoto was at this time, in question, the capital of Japan. Across Japan were various gates leading in and out of cities and areas and such. One night the band of fierce samurai knights sat around the table, nestled on the tatami floor, drinking sake and eating a meal. One of the samurai began to speak of a tale he had heard from an elderly woman. He mentioned that the gate to Rashomon, the word on the street had it that there is an ogre that is taking people from twilight through dusk. One samurai named Watanabe blurted out that it could not be true, as their master had led them into battles against the last of the ogres in Kyoto, upon the mountains not so far in time. The others looked upon him and said, "If you are so sure, then you should go check out." For a moment, Watanabe grew concerned. Then his brave and gallant personality kicked him. Watanabe said, "I shall." Everyone wanted evidence. I'm willing to go alone and check. So each member of the band of samurai knights placed their surnames on a parchment. Watanabe said he would nail the paper to the door, and they could all go in the next morning to see it placed upon the gate. Despite the fact that there was a fierce storm, and the wind howled and screeched like pigs going to slaughter, and the rain beat down like the pounding of her falling oak, Watanabe drew the reins of his horse and attached his katana to his armor, and placed firmly his helmet upon his head. For a brief second, the band of samurai thought that he would succumb to fear at the ferocity of the storm, of which no normal person would dare to brace. Nonetheless, Watanabe rode into the night, and the wind berated him and the horse. The rain was cold as ice, the night was as dark as a cavern, and the thunder and lightning roared and lit the way toward the gate. He arrived, and like as he thought, there was nothing there. He stapled the parchment to the gate. Watanabe began to ride home to his fellow samurai knights and brothers, when suddenly a giant hand latched onto his helmet and stopped him in his tracks. He felt around to find that it was a thick arm, as thick as a temple pillar, and had hair as coarse as a brush littered upon it. The stench was also overwhelming. At this moment, with knowledge of the battle he had fought upon the mountain with his master and samurai brothers, he became alert to the fact it most certainly was an ogre. Watanabe drew his sword as fast as the lightning and struck, and began slashing furiously at the ogre's arm. The ogre's grip released, and a battle ensued. The lightning casting shapes of a ginormous ogre and one brave samurai fighting for their lives. Watanabe had battled ogres before, but never alone. His heart pumped with a passion to protect the folks of Kyoto, and seek glory for his band of samurai, and to claim the head of the ogre as proof of his battles. The rain struck the blade of the katana, making more bellowing, whipping sounds than the wind itself. Soon, the ogre began to realize that this was no average samurai, that Watanabe had gallantry, that his swordsmanship was incredible. So the ogre began to flee the battle. Watanabe, provoked by the cowardice of the ogre, set to chase him. The ogre, the size of the gate itself, had great stride, and so soon surpassed him. Watanabe was disappointed that he had not slain the ogre. The human-eating ogre returned to the gate of his loyal steed. As he approached the horse, he noticed a large object scattered on the floor in the shining light of the storm. It was the ogre's arm. He was elated and began to tie the rope to the back of the horse. As dawn struck, he approached the center of Kyoto, dragging the ogre's arm with his horse. The samurai brothers and master were astounded and so proud of his gallant effort. They prepared a feast for him with fish of all kinds, cooked in all manners, and even raw. They celebrated his efforts with sake and shaku, and many assortments of entertainment. The whole of Kyoto had already known that this band of samurai knights was powerful and had a protective spirit, yet now there was a samurai who would fight ogres alone. Watanabe became renowned. His notoriety extended across Kyoto like a bushfire. People paid to see the arm and praised his greatness. Yet in time, he became concerned that the ogre would return for the arm, as ogres are very revengeful and possessive. So Watanabe had a great box of timber and steel made to lock the arm away. Then he placed the box in his own bedroom. He sought to never let anyone see it in fear that the ogre would snatch it. Then, one cold and stormy night, not unlike the one on which he had faced the ogre on, there came a knock at his gate. The maid came to the gate and found an old woman scratching at the door. The old woman said, "I'm the master Watanabe's witness. I nursed him since a child. I heard of his great exploits and saw to it in my final hour to congratulate my sweet child of yesterday." The maid rushed to Watanabe and told him of her at the gate. Watanabe was void of all sense and concerned for the nature of her late call at night. As he was overwhelmed with nostalgia and love for his witness, she had been more like a mother than anyone else. He had deep feelings of love and adored her kind and gentle soul. So the gate was opened. Luckily, there was no sign of the ogre in the tempestuous night, and the gate was closed behind her. The old wet nurse limped into the lobby and proclaimed, "My sweet child, you are a great hero of Kyoto. I heard of the exploit of this night and had to rush to congratulate you." This brought a serene joy and smile to Watanabe. The old woman nurse went on to say, "I so desire to see the ogre's arm." Watanabe replied that these eyes no one can see, and that the arm is locked away. Then the old woman went on to whisper, "I'm old, and soon I will pass. This is as certain as the light of a new day. Please, allow me this favor. I've in all my days to see such an anomaly, and a freak of nature, such as the arm of a demonic ogre." Watanabe, endeared by her gentle voice, agreed. As the box was unchained and unlocked, the wet nurse seemed to tremble in fear. The wooden lid was removed, and she nervously limped over to the box. With every step closer she took, she was seemingly stricken with more fear. Then suddenly the old woman transformed into an ogre. It was not fear, it was eagerness. The ogre grabbed the arm and began swiping it furiously at Watanabe. Watanabe was emotionally overwhelmed by this meeting. For a moment petrified. Then, as he was flayed across the room, he instantly came to his senses and drew his katana as fast as he did on that night. The ogre, seeing the light of the lamp shine upon the katana, was overwhelmed with fear and let through the ceiling, chortling with a menacing laugh and madness as the ogre reclaimed his arm. Watanabe was disappointed that he had trusted the ogre and not anticipated a shape-shifting power that some ogres are known to have. He sat down as the rain dripped through the ceiling and started onto the moon. The light of a new day came in. Watanabe remained respected for his swordsmanship, yet he always felt disappointed that his heart was so supple and susceptible. He waited at the gate of Rashomon for another chance many times. The ogre, fearful of Watanabe, might never return. Thus, Kyoto was saved.